in your city. The subject of my talk is Archbishop Lefebvre, the founding of the Society of Saint by the 10th, and the fight for the Holy Mass, for the faith. Archbishop Lefebvre was born in France 1905, more than 100 years ago. And when he told his father, "Dad, I want to become a priest," his father sent him to Rome to learn and to become a priest under the eyes of the Pope, And Archbishop Lefebvre, when he was 17 years old, in Italy, in Rome, he entered the French seminary of Rome under the direction of the Holy Ghost fathers who were missionaries, especially in Africa. And in this seminary, there were especially 3 good priests. First of all, the rector, Father Lefebvre, a Briton, a French, and he would teach the encyclicals of the popes, the doctrine of Rome, the sound Roman doctrine against liberalism, communism, yes, it was beginning, and modernism, especially St. Pius X against modernism. And Archbishop Lefebvre, he was young Marcel Lefebvre, felt enthusiastic for this fight against the heresies. Second point, Father Lefebvre, another good priest, would teach Christ the King against liberalism and Freemasonry. The kingship of Jesus Christ, not only in our heart, but in the society. And he said that is the integrity of priesthood. If you want to become a priest, you have to sacrifice yourself for the kingship of Christ. A summary of the priest. The sacrifice of the priest for the kingship of Christ. And Archbishop Lefebvre, young Marcel Lefebvre, kept this doctrine. Not only Jesus Christ would be the king of the individual, but also of the societies, by the obedience of the laws to the law of God. So, and third good priest, Father Mallerais, he was a Briton also and French, he would teach the Blessed Virgin Mary, and especially her co-redemption, that is to say, on the foot of the cross, the Blessed Virgin Mary redeemed us with her divine Son. And thus, she was mediator of all graces. So, young Marcel Lefebvre became a priest. He was appointed in a poor parish as a second assistant priest of a poor parish. He was fully happy, but something left him unsatisfactory. He had not the fight for Christ the King. And he received letters from his brother, who was a missionary in Africa, who told him, "Why do not come? Why do you not come to us in Africa? There are so many baptisms, so many pagans who are hungry of the gospel of Jesus Christ. Come to us." And young Marcel heard the voice of the mission, and he decided to become a missionary. And he asked the Bishop of Lille, and the bishop gave his agreement. And so he went, he made his novitiate, he was a priest, and he became a novice of the Holy Ghost Fathers. He had to obey, to submit And 1 year later, he took the boat and landed in Gabon, in Libreville, on the equator of Africa, with the heat. It is very hot the whole year, a painful weather, but he accepted it. And the Bishop of Libreville, when he was disembarking from the boat, "Welcome, dear father. Do you know what I intend that you do?" "No, my lord, I must obey you." "Yes, you will be a teacher, a professor in my seminary, because I heard that you are a doctor in theology and a doctor in philosophy. So you will be a teacher in my seminary." Ooh, no, 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 no. He didn't want. He wanted to be with the natives, but he had to obey. He had to obey. And that was the divine providence, because in the seminary he was able to form future black priests for the church, and he learned how to form priests, and he liked it. He took taste of building priests. And then he was completely exhausted after 6 years. He went to the bishop in Africa and he said, "My lord, I am exhausted. Please give me a time of vacation." And the bishop said, "No, you will go into the bush and you will have your rest in the bush." And he had to obey, but he was happy. Finally, he would be with his natives. The great mission to convert pagans, and he organized all around the mission the many, many little chapels in the villages, the Holy Mass, the catechism in the villages by a troop of catechists, laymen who were catechists. And he founded a lot of schools everywhere, little schools for boys and girls, separate in the villages. And then he took the best one, the girls and the best boys, in the high school at the mission, and to form them either to be a good father of family with a job, or to become priest or religious or nuns. He saw the future of the country, and he thought, and he said to us, "I always wanted to make Christian societies. That was my goal. I always willed always to build Catholic societies." And then he was so a big missionary that after 13 years, after the war, he was called back to France. So he had to abandon the mission. He wept a little, because he just wanted to be buried in Africa with his natives. It was a separation. It was cruel, but he accepted in obedience. And he was appointed rector of the philosophy seminary in Mortain, in Normandy, in France, just after the war. So he had to rebuild everything in this seminary and to transmit to seminarians, still seminarians, future priests, what he had received in Rome under Father Lefebvre, Father Feuckley, and Father Le Roellec. Christ the King, the Holy Mass, the Blessed Virgin Mary. And then 2 years later, he received a cold fall. "Hello, Father Lefebvre, are you well seated on your seat?" "Yes, yes, what happened?" "The Pope." What you say?" "Yeah, the Pope, Pius XII, has appointed you Apostolic Vicar of Dakar." Apostolic Vicar, that means bishop. Bishop in Africa, but in Dakar. Where is Dakar? Ooh. a Muslim country, totally Muslim. So he had to work for the conversion of Muslims. Difficult. But he had to accept, and he went to Dakar, and he became the great mission, the big mission, to protect the pagan zone against the penetration of Muslims coming from Morocco and from the north, to protect these pagans in order to convert them thereafter. And he totally could manage this with success. It was a total success. And so the Pope, Pius XII, appointed him apostolic delegate for whole French Africa. That is to say, more than 25 territories who were the colonies of France on this time. And he visited the whole Africa and called from Europe and from Canada missionaries. He went to Canada here, and he visited seminaries, religious houses, the bishops, to call many young people, the young men and girls, as missionaries in Africa. And then, every year he will go to Rome to visit the Pope, Pius XII, to explain him that Africa still wanted missionaries. And that was not the general opinion in Rome, but Pius XII was able to understand. So, when Pius XII died, 958, John the 23rd was elected a pope and said immediately to Archbishop Lefebvre, "You do not stay in Africa. No, you come back to Europe." Because John the 23rd was a liberal and Archbishop Lefebvre was not a liberal. Already the fight. So he had to obey, to leave Africa, and he was appointed in a little diocese, the poorest diocese of France, Tulle. And 6 months after, he was elected by the members of his congregation, the Holy Ghost Father. He was elected Superior General of the Holy Ghost Fathers with 500 members. So he was the boss, the head of a society of 5,000 members during 6 years. And during these years, he was as a council, member of the Second Vatican Council, leading a group of bishops fighting against liberalism. And then, because he did not want to apply the decision of the Second Vatican Council, he dismissed his task of Superior General. He was free and work less. What should he do? And at this moment, in Paris, he was in Paris, families came to visit him. "My Lord, here is our son. He wants to become a priest, and he cannot, because all the seminaries in France are modernists. Please do something for our son." And I was one of these young boys. When I told my father, "Dad, I want to become a priest," he said, "Not in the seminaries in France. You will visit a good priest that I know, Father Coache, and he will lead you." I met this good priest who had been punished by his bishop because he was organizing every year the procession of the Most Holy Sacrament at Corpus Christi. He was punished by this bishop. So he was well known by the true Catholics. I met him, and he told me, I will show you the way. And thanks to the good priest, I met Archbishop Lefebvre in Paris just before his dismissal, his
resignation,
retirement. Archbishop Lefebvre told me, I am still superior of the Holy Ghost Father. I am not free, but as soon as I am free, I will establish a traditional and international seminary, and I will call you. So I wait for 2 years, and 2 years later, I received a letter from Archbishop Lefebvre, my dear friend, be in Switzerland, in Freiburg. I had to go abroad in exile. For me, it was difficult to cross the border, to go to Switzerland, where people were speaking German. But I accepted. I said, be in Freiburg, Switzerland, on the 13th of October, 1969. October the 13th, the day of the great miracle in Fatima, Providence. I was there on October the 13th at the railway station in Freiburg, welcomed by a priest who led me to Archbishop Lefebvre, who welcomed me. Come, you are welcome. So we were 9 seminarians at the beginning. One of 9. He gave us the cassock, very quick. I was happy. I was proud of my cassock, and I kept it, thanks to God. And then he told us a few weeks later, my dear friends, what should we do in the future? Should you go in your diocese back? Should we not stay together, organizing a society of priests under the patronage of Saint Pius X, who had such a care of his priests? What do you think of this idea? He was asking us, and we said, my Lord, we have to reflect deeply on this subject, but we think that it would be good. First decision, because it was still firm in his mind. He wanted to establish a society of priests, a priestly fraternity, Saint Pius V. Because long years before, when he was Archbishop in Dakar, he had got a dream. He was kneeling on his kneeler in the Cathedral of Dakar during a ceremony, meditating, and on a sudden he had a dream. Not a vision, but something intellectual. You will do something for priesthood, for the Catholic priesthood. You will have to transmit the Catholic priesthood, and not only the priesthood, but the spirit of Catholic priesthood that has been always the spirit of the Church, etc., etc. So he had this idea, this need in his mind, and when he received us young men asking him to do something, he understood that it was his duty to engage somewhere, somehow, to form priests according to the priesthood that he had received in Rome as he was a young seminarian. So every evening he would teach us the spirituality, the spiritual life, catechism, and then spiritual life, how to read the Holy Scripture, how to meditate, how to pray the rosary, because we did not know how to pray the rosary on this time. Everything. the liturgy, and 1 month after, it was just before the first Sunday of Advent, 1979, 79, first Sunday of Advent. What happened?
69.
What happened on this day? First Sunday of Advent, 1969. What a big event in the church. The worst event in the church. The new Mass, Novus Ordo Mass. And Archbishop Lefebvre made a meeting with us. Tomorrow, my dear friends, a new Mass is coming in the church, everywhere. What should we do? He asked us. He asked us, young, ignorant men, what should we do? And he answered, should we not go on with the old Mass? With his little voice? Should we not go on with the old Mass? And we said, yes, Monsignor, yes, that is our will, that is our intention, because we already knew this new Mass, the preparation of the new Mass, the Mass in English or in French, the altars upside down in order that the priest may have a dialogue with the people. So, yes, Monsignor, please, let us keep the old Mass. So, an historical decision. He was the first bishop to say, no, we keep the Mass of all times. And we were happy to have such a head. And then he realized, he made in action this society of Saint Pius X. He received the permission of the local bishop. It was necessary to have the permission of the local bishop, the approbation of the local bishop, Bishop Charrière in Freiburg, in the All Saints' Day 1970. All Saints' Day, in a few days. 1970. 47 years ago. What a fool. I was there 47 years ago. So it was marvelous. The church was acknowledging the Society of St. Pius, the priestly Society of St. Pius. On this day, we were born to the church. It was our birthday, approbation of the church, approbation of the statutes and of the existence of the Society of St. Pius X. Fully regular, canonical, regular. We are happy of this. He showed us at midday the decree, you saw, with the signature of the bishop, with the seal. We exist now in the church. And then what happened? The French bishop were afraid of him because Econe was attracting many young men from all countries of the world, especially from France. 1 vocation out of 5 went to Econe. 1 out of 5. So it was a scandal for the bishops. What it is, we must prevent him to attract our vocation. So they asked Cardinal Pio, who was a French cardinal in Rome, Secretary of State of Pope Pius VI, Eminence, do something against Archbishop Lefebvre, obtain that he close his seminary. It threatens our diocese in France. It is a scandal. He is a public danger. Please do something against him. And Cardinal Pio met Paul VI, Pope Paul VI, and Paul VI appointed 3 cardinals to examine the situation. And these 3 cardinals sent 2 envoys to make a canonical visitation of the seminary of Econe. I was a seminarian on this time. It was on November the 1st. Yes. All Saints' Day, 974. All Saints' Day, 974. I was a subdeacon. And the two envoys was one prelate and one archbishop from Belgium. And they came and they interrogated the seminarians. They put their questions. My dear friend, you are a seminarian. What do you think? Here. The truth. What is the truth? Is it here? Also here, here, here. Where is the truth? And the seminarian said, it is here. No, 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 it is not so clear. Ooh. So, his philosophy was modernist. Second question. Do you believe in the resurrection of Jesus Christ? Do you believe that our Lord Jesus Christ is risen again from the dead? Is it a historical fact? And the seminarian said, yes, it is my catechism. He was born, he wasn't dead, and thereafter he was living. Thus he rose again. That is clear. And the Archbishop, not Archbishop Lefebvre, said, oh, it is not so clear. Ooh. So a doubt about truth and a doubt about a dogma of faith, the resurrection of bodily resurrection of the Lord Jesus Christ. So the seminarians went to Archbishop Lefebvre and told him, you know, these men of Rome, they do not profess Catholic faith. So Archbishop Lefebvre was scandalized. He went to Rome to complain. And the movement of holy anger, he wrote a declaration just in a minute. A wonderful declaration. And then he came back to the seminary, I was still in the seminary, and he read us publicly, seminarians, this declaration of the 21st of November 1974, a very important declaration in the church of November the 21st, 1974. I read it. We cleave with our whole heart to the Rome of all times, mistress of truth and wisdom, and we cleave to the tradition that defend the Catholic faith. And on the contrary, we refuse to follow the new Rome of Protestant and liberal tendency. We refuse the new rites of the Mass and the sacraments, because all of them are coming from heresy and leading to heresy. Ooh, it was strong. And we were happy to hear this declaration. And all seminarians applauded in the room. Never had we applauded Archbishop Lefebvre during a spiritual conference. But one person did not applaud, myself, because I knew that this declaration would be our condemnation. And I was right. But interiorly, I applauded. Yes, naturally, interiorly. I knew that this declaration is Catholic. That is the true Catholic attitude. But naturally, that will be our condemnation. And naturally, it came. So the three cardinals convoked Archbishop Lefebvre in Rome and said, your declaration, you are saying that even if the Pope does not walk straight, you should not obey the Pope. You are against the Pope. You are a fool, my Lord. And Archbishop Lefebvre said, no, I steadfast. I maintain the faith. I maintain the true rite of the Holy Mass. I refuse that the Pope introduce new teachings that do not be tradition. So we were happy to have such an archbishop at the head of society. He was strong. And as a punishment, we were suppressed, canonically suppressed, but unjustly. It was unjust to punish an archbishop who kept the faith and who kept the tradition which defend the faith. But Archbishop Lefebvre told us, my dear friend, do not be troubled by this suppression that is unlawful and unjust. We continue, because you know, if I closed my seminary, I would collaborate with the destruction of the church. And I do not want that when I die, I should hear the good Lord reproaching me, you have shared in the work of those who destroyed the church. I do not want to hear this reproach. So apparently we are disobeying a pope, but really we are obeying the faith and the church. And we follow. I follow. Some of them, some seminarians left, some teachers and professors left. They feared to be disobedient, but I did not fear by the special grace of God. I did not fear anything. I knew very well that I was the true position to follow, to keep the seminary and this work of salvation of the Catholic priesthood. And what were the guidelines of this seminary? First of all, the Mass, the devotion to the Holy Mass that had been lost in the church. The church had still had the devotion to the most holy sacrament in the altar, in the tabernacle. But with the suppression of the tabernacles, and the turning of the altar upside down, the relegation of the real presence in a wall, but the devotion to the Holy Mass, it was something quite new, but very traditional. Because the sacrament of Eucharist is not only the real presence and the Holy Communion, it is essentially a sacrifice, my dear people. And the Holy Communion and the real presence are the fruits of the sacrifice. So that was the teaching of Archbishop Lefebvre. And he said, you priest, you have to teach the faithful to have a devotion to the Holy Mass. And when it is possible, they should go every Sunday and also even on weekdays to attend the Holy Mass, to receive the graces of Calvary. Because the Holy Mass is just reenactment, unbloody reenactment of the sacrifice of Calvary. So the Holy Mass spread the same grace at the sacrifice of the cross. We understood this teaching. The first guideline of the Society of St. Pius X, the central room of the Holy Mass in the life of the priests and of the Christians. Second guideline, the teaching of St. Thomas Aquinas against all heresies, like Leo XIII, Pius X, and Pius XI, had taught St. Thomas, knowing perfectly the Father of the Church, and heir of the Holy Father of the Church, is able, by his teaching, to dissolve and to destroy all future heresies. Application for today, you know. I will speak after. Then, third guideline, a year of spirituality for all future priests. Before the philosophy and theology, they would have 1 year, 1 full year of spirituality to learn the spiritual life. It was something new, but very traditional in the church. Fourth guideline, the common life of priests, not hermits in their parishes, but living in community of priests with common prayer of their breviary, a little according to the life of religions, but without the vows of religions, the spirit of the vows of religions, for the common life of the clergy. And fifth, excellent guideline, during the first year of spirituality, seminarians would be taught the encyclicals of the popes, of Gregory XVI, Pius IX, Louis XIII, St. Pius X, Pius XI. All these magnificent encyclicals condemning the heresies of modernism, liberalism, and socialism. We had them. And Archbishop Lefebvre taught himself these lectures of the encyclicals of the popes. I encourage you to buy and to read some encyclicals of the Pope. So with 5 guidelines, he made a total renovation of the seminaries. Totally new and totally traditional. And in spite of apparent disobedience, we were the most obedient to the church and those who best helped the Holy Father. I think it is sufficient. But now, an application of today. What did Bishop Lefebvre, our Superior General, did with his signature on, what is the name?
Correctio filialis.
Yes, on the filial correction of the Pope. Ooh. Bishop Lefebvre dared correct the Holy Father, yes. And the Holy Father said wrong things, he may be corrected by the faithful. So Bishop Lefebvre accepted to put his signature on this filial correction of the Pope, Pope Francis. Especially when Pope Francis, in Amoris Laetitia, you know, the document of the Pope, said 2 years ago, or 3 years ago now, that divorced married people may remarry and receive the Holy Communion. If they remarry civilly, they may receive the Holy Communion, in spite of being objectively in a state of mortal sin. So a Pope declaring this in an official document, that is an heresy. It is against the gospel. Man should not separate what God united. It is against the teaching of St. Paul, in his epistles. So it is an heresy. So Archbishop Lefebvre did well, making this signature of correction of the Pope, yes. And I was happy to see this signature. For me, I am proud of my superior general, because he was soon discussing with Rome, hoping to our approbation, and now he's signed such a correction, public correction of the Pope. It is an act of courage. I'm happy and proud of this action. So the fight is going on, as you are faithful. Let us do like young Jose Sanchez del Rio, unmovable, steadfast against the heresies. Semper idem, said Daniel Ottaviani, always the same. We do not change. God does not change. The religion does not change. Let us maintain with God's strength. We are weak, but we love God. We shall maintain, we shall keep the faith. So I hope, my dear faithful, that your beloved family, the Holy Ghost, may raise some of your children to the priestly or religious vocation. Be careful. It will happen to your families. It is not a danger, it is a happiness. Be prepared for such graces and take care of the schools of your children. Send them to our good Catholic schools, or have homeschooling with good programs of homeschooling to keep your children in the faith and in the love of our Lord Jesus Christ and of the Blessed Mother. Thank you, dear faith.
Your Excellency, thank you very much. We're very pleased that he has come. As he said, on Wednesday, November 1st, the big day in the society, the day of our birthday. We were born as a society of the church. And we are very privileged to have Bishop Tissier, who is the oldest member of the Society of St. Pius X. As he told us, he met the Archbishop back in before 68 or 68. His Excellency was ordained priest in 1975 by Archbishop Lefebvre. And of course, he's one of our 3 bishops ordained and consecrated in 1988. Now His Excellency is living in Chicago. He resides in Chicago, so we have Bishop Lefebvre, who's the Superior General. We have 2 bishops, Bishop de Galarreta and Bishop Tissier, who are at the service of the Superior General, going around the world, giving confirmations, strengthening the faithful in the fight for the faith. And well, across Canada, as you know, we try to bring the bishops to the different centers little by little. Every 20 years he comes and visits, you know. So anyway, you got your bishop today. Thanks be to God, and thanks to our Blessed Mother. Maybe we'll end up with receiving the bishop's blessing. You can kneel down to receive his blessing, and then we will be with this. Next up, we'll get to Strange Seculum. Amen. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, God bless. And November 18, I will be pitching on November 18, so come back. Okay, Saturday afternoon, what time?
Saturday after the evening Mass, after the 6 p.m. Mass, Father Joe.
I will be giving a talk on this Correctio Filialis. Have you distributed my letter?
Yes,
So you see my monthly letter of November, which is a bit of a commentary of this, and I will explain it on November 18. And we will talk also of the future of the Edmonton group. So there's some brainstorming and some financial storming too. Okay. Okay, very good. Thank you very much. Tomorrow. Okay. So,
Thank you, Father.
good night, everyone.
Kisses ringing. Shouldn't
Liam.